Hello students, welcome to today's session. Today we'll be revising chapter number 2 and we'll be covering the topics which you can see on your screen. So the first point is Java can run on any platform. What is the meaning of this statement? Well, what does platform mean? So platform means that there are varieties of operating systems, isn't it? Like Windows, Linux, Macintosh, okay, and several others. So all these operating systems can run Java provided that they have JVM, okay. So each different operating system will have its own version of JVM, the Java Virtual Machine. So as long as you have JVM on a machine, any kind of which is using any kind of operating system, it will be able to run Java. Okay, so this is why Java is known as platform independent. Okay, Java is platform independent because it can run on any platform. Okay. Next, there are two kinds of Java applications. One is standalone Java application and the other one is Java applets. Okay, so standalone means when a device is not connected to the internet. It's when you want to run a Java application locally on the machine. Okay, locally means it's not connected to any kind of network. Okay, so this kind of application is known as standalone application. It doesn't require network or internet. Okay, whereas Java applets, they run on a browser. Okay, browsers such as Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, okay, Firefox browser. So Java applets are downloaded through the internet and they are executed on a web browser. So this is the basic difference between standalone and Java applets. Standalone runs locally, whereas Java applets are downloaded through the internet and they can run on a web browser. Okay. Next, let us discuss about translators. Okay. So what are the different translators? Assembler, compiler, and interpreter. So what are translators? You know that computers can understand machine language, right? Only zeros and ones. They cannot understand any other language. But still, we have many different kind of languages, isn't it? We have assembly language, we have high level language. So when you write a software in any language other than a machine language, it needs to be translated to machine language before it can run on the device. Okay, for example, if you have written a software in the assembly language, you will require assembler. Okay, you will require assembler to translate the assembly language program into machine language. Okay, this is what assembler does. And what is compiler and interpreter? So both compiler and interpreter, they are involved in translating high level language into machine language, but there is a slight difference between the both. Okay, the difference is that compiler translates the whole program at once into machine language, whereas interpreter translates the high level program line by line. Okay, that is the basic difference between compiler and interpreter. Both of them convert high level language into machine language, but the difference is that compiler translates the entire code at once into machine code, and interpreter translates it line by line. Okay, so interpreter will translate let's say line number 1 and give it to the CPU. The CPU will execute that particular line, and again it will go back to the interpreter and get the translation of line number 2, and then it will execute line number 2. Whereas compiler translates the entire program. Okay, that means CPU doesn't have to wait for the compiler to translate the next line. It is already translated. It just needs to fetch the next instruction and execute. Okay, now let's talk about Java. Okay, does Java use a compiler or interpreter? So Java actually uses both. Okay, so once you have compiled a Java source program, okay, into bytecode, you know that when you compile a Java program, machine language is not generated, rather bytecode is generated. Okay, the bytecode is neither so Java compiler translates the Java source program into bytecode. Okay, and that bytecode is given to the JVM. The JVM has got interpreter and just-in-time compiler. Okay, the JVM has got both the things. One is interpreter and the other one is just-in-time compiler. Okay, JIT. So the bytecode is executed by the JVM through the interpreter present inside the JVM. Okay, so interpreter will translate line by line. Okay, but the just-in-time compiler will keep track of those lines of code which execute very frequently. Okay, and what it will do is it will store the translation of those frequently executed lines of code as machine language. Okay, so that is why it is known as just-in-time compiler. Okay, because it is compiling while the program is in execution mode in the JVM. Okay, so that is when JIT comes into the picture and finds out that which lines of code are being executed frequently. So it will store the machine code for all those frequently executed lines. Okay, that means whenever it is required, it will just give those already translated instructions to the CPU and the CPU will execute. Okay, this is why Java uses both compiler and interpreter. Okay, always remember this. So JVM is Java Virtual Machine. Okay, so the JVM consists of the just-in-time compiler, okay, interpreter, and memory management. There are lots of things, but it is sufficient for you to understand that JVM is responsible for executing your byte code. Okay, JVM is responsible for executing your byte code. Okay, and what is JRE? JRE stands for Java Runtime Environment. Okay, so the Java Runtime Environment, it contains all the Java class libraries, okay, as well as the JVM. Okay, so JVM is actually part of the Java Runtime Environment. Okay, so Java Runtime Environment consists of the class libraries and the JVM. Then I've already spoken about JIT, just-in-time compiler. Okay, I've already explained while explaining Java uses both compiler and interpreter. Okay, bytecode, you know that bytecode is the code produced when Java compiler compiles the Java source code. Okay, so the Java source code, its extension is .java. Okay, whenever you write a Java source code, it is stored as .java file. Okay, when the Java compiler compiles it into bytecode, okay, when the compiler translates the source code into bytecode, the bytecode is stored in a .class file. Okay, remember these 2 points, that source code is stored as .java and the bytecode is stored as .class. Simple. Okay, then finally, Java is known to be secure. Okay, why it is secure? Let's consider the case of applets. Okay, you know that when you are using the internet, you are always very prone to viruses, trojans, malwares, okay, all these suspicious programs. Okay, but the thing with Java applets is that although it's coming through the internet, although it's running on a web browser, it will not affect your computer in any way. Okay, why is that so? Because it is running in an isolated, in a virtual environment. Okay, it's running inside the JVM. Okay, so inside your computer's RAM, JVM will be allocated some memory. Okay, so the Java applet will run only in that particular memory location. Okay, it will not have access to any other part of the computer's RAM or any kind of resources. Okay, that is why Java is known as secure. Okay, so this is it. I've covered all the points given in chapter 2. So I'll stop here. Thank you.